Train yourself to be unbothered because peace is a skill, not a personality trait. When you act as if everything is working out for you, you stop handing your power to every distraction, opinion, or setback that crosses your path. Being unbothered does not mean you stop caring. It means you start choosing what deserves your energy. It means you decide that your focus, your growth, and your inner state matter more than noise, drama, or temporary discomfort. Most people live in reaction mode. They react to messages, moods, delays, criticism, and uncertainty as if each moment controls them. But when you train yourself to be unbothered, you shift from reaction to intention. You pause, you breathe, you remind yourself that nothing external has the authority to control your inner world unless you allow it. Acting as if everything is working out grounds you in trust, and trust dissolves anxiety at its root. Life will always test you. Plans will change. People will misunderstand you. Progress will sometimes feel slow. The unbothered mindset does not deny these realities, it rises above them. You begin to see challenges as part of alignment rather than evidence of failure. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, how is this shaping me? That single shift turns frustration into strength and pressure into purpose. Training yourself to be unbothered requires discipline. You must become aware of where your attention goes. Attention is energy, and energy creates experience. When you constantly replay worries or react emotionally to every situation, you drain yourself. But when you assume everything is working out, you conserve energy and redirect it towards solutions, growth, and action. Calm becomes your advantage. Clarity becomes your edge. Being unbothered also means letting go of the need to control outcomes. Control creates tension, trust creates flow. When you act as if things are aligning in your favor, you stop forcing results and start allowing progress. You still take action, but you do so without desperation. You move with confidence instead of fear. This state makes you more effective, more focused, and more resilient under pressure. This mindset strengthens emotional mastery. Emotions are signals, not commands. Training yourself to be unbothered teaches you to feel emotions without being ruled by them. You can feel disappointment without collapsing, stress without panicking, and uncertainty without freezing. You learn that emotions pass, but your choices shape your future. Acting as if everything is working out gives you the stability to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. Over time, this approach rewires how you experience life. Small inconveniences stop triggering big reactions. Opinions lose their grip on you. Delays no longer feel like threats. You develop patience, not because life is easy, but because you trust yourself to handle whatever comes next. That trust is the foundation of confidence. Being unbothered also sharpens your focus. When you are not emotionally scattered, you can commit fully to your goals. You stop wasting mental space on things you cannot control and invest it in what moves you forward. Productivity increases. Creativity expands. You show up with intention because your mind is not cluttered with unnecessary noise. Acting as if everything is working out does not mean you ignore effort or responsibility. It means you combine action with calm certainty. You do the work, but you release attachment to immediate outcomes. You trust the process. This balance allows you to stay consistent without burning out, determined without being tense. Train yourself to be unbothered, and you will notice a quiet strength forming within you. Your presence will feel grounded. Your decisions will feel clear. Your confidence will feel steady. You will move through challenges without losing yourself in them. One day, you will realize that the greatest transformation was not in your circumstances, but in your ability to remain centered no matter what happened around you. That is the power of acting as if everything is working out for you. Being unbothered is often misunderstood as indifference, detachment, or emotional coldness, but in reality, it is the opposite. It is not about lacking care, it is about caring with intention. Being unbothered is a trained mindset that allows you to remain steady, focused, and emotionally balanced regardless of what happens around you. It means you choose where to invest your energy instead of allowing every external event, opinion, or inconvenience to dictate your inner state. This skill is developed through awareness, discipline, and repeated conscious choice, not through avoidance or emotional suppression. At its core, being unbothered begins with understanding that emotional reactions are habits. Over time, the mind learns to respond automatically to certain triggers: criticism, delays, rejection, uncertainty, without conscious thought. These reactions feel instant and uncontrollable, but they are learned patterns. When you train yourself to be unbothered, you interrupt those patterns. You create space between stimulus and response. In that space, you regain control. You begin to realize that you can feel emotions without being consumed by them and acknowledge challenges without allowing them to destabilize you. This mindset requires clarity about what truly matters. Caring deeply about everything leads to exhaustion, confusion, and emotional burnout. Being unbothered means setting boundaries around your attention and emotions. You recognize that not every comment deserves a reaction, not every situation deserves your worry, and not every setback deserves your frustration. This does not mean you stop caring about your goals, values, or relationships. It means you protect them by not wasting emotional energy on distractions that do not contribute to growth or progress. Training yourself to be unbothered also involves strengthening emotional regulation. Emotions are signals, not instructions. They provide information about your environment and inner state, but they do not have to dictate your behavior. When you remain unbothered, you allow emotions to rise and fall without attaching your identity or decisions to them. You can feel disappointment without losing motivation, stress without panicking, and uncertainty without freezing. This ability builds emotional resilience and stability over time. Another important aspect of this mindset is self-trust. Being unbothered grows stronger when you trust your ability to handle challenges. Fear often arises from the belief that something will happen that you cannot manage. When you train yourself to be unbothered, you reinforce the belief that no matter what happens, you can respond effectively. This trust reduces anxiety because your mind no longer feels the need to constantly anticipate or control outcomes. You stop reacting emotionally to every unknown because you trust your capacity to adapt. This mindset also transforms how you interpret external feedback. Criticism, rejection, or misunderstanding can easily trigger emotional responses when your sense of worth is tied to external validation. Being unbothered allows you to evaluate feedback objectively. You take what is useful and discard what is not without internalizing it as a judgment of your value. This detachment is not apathy, it is discernment. You remain open to growth while protecting your inner stability. Training yourself to be unbothered is an active process. It requires daily practice in choosing calm over chaos and clarity over reaction. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you reinforce a new neural pathway. Over time, this repetition rewires your brain, making emotional balance your default response rather than a forced effort. You become more composed under pressure, more patient in uncertainty, and more focused in moments of stress. Being unbothered also enhances focus and productivity. When emotional energy is no longer scattered across worry, comparison, and reaction, it becomes available for meaningful action. You are able to concentrate deeply, think strategically, and act decisively. This focused state allows you to make consistent progress toward your goals without being derailed by distractions or emotional turbulence. Your energy becomes purposeful instead of reactive. Importantly, being unbothered strengthens relationships rather than weakening them. Emotional stability improves communication, empathy, and understanding. When you are not reactive, you listen more clearly and respond thoughtfully. You create space for constructive dialogue rather than conflict. This calm presence can positively influence others and foster trust, respect, and collaboration. Over time, this trained mindset reshapes your identity. You no longer see yourself as someone easily affected by circumstances or opinions. You begin to identify as calm, resilient, and grounded. This identity reinforces the behavior, creating a cycle of emotional mastery and self-respect. Challenges no longer feel overwhelming because you approach them from a place of stability rather than emotional chaos. Ultimately, being unbothered is not about shutting down emotions or avoiding responsibility. It is about mastering your inner world so that you can engage with the outer world more effectively. It is a conscious choice to care deeply about what truly matters while remaining unaffected by what does not. Through training, awareness, and discipline, being unbothered becomes a source of strength, clarity, and peace that allows you to move through life with confidence and purpose. Acting as if everything is working out is a powerful internal decision that changes how you experience each moment. Most people live in reaction, allowing circumstances, emotions, and other people's behavior to dictate their responses. In this reactive state, the mind is constantly scanning for threats, problems, and reasons to worry. Stress becomes automatic, and decisions are often driven by fear or urgency rather than clarity. When you choose to act as if everything is working out, you interrupt this pattern. You move from reacting to life to responding with intention, purpose, and control. Reaction is rooted in uncertainty and fear. When something unexpected happens, the reactive mind immediately jumps to conclusions, often imagining the worst possible outcome. This creates emotional spikes that cloud judgment and limit options. Acting as if everything is working out calms this mental chaos. It signals to your brain that there is no immediate danger, allowing you to slow down, think clearly, and choose how to respond. This shift alone can dramatically improve decision-making, communication, and emotional stability. Intentional living begins with awareness. When you act as if things are working out, you become conscious of your responses instead of being controlled by them. You notice when you are about to react impulsively and choose a different path. You pause before speaking, acting, or judging. This pause is where power exists. In that moment, you regain ownership of your behavior and align your actions. With long-term goals rather than short-term emotions, this mindset also changes how you interpret challenges. In reaction mode, obstacles feel personal and threatening. They trigger frustration, defensiveness, or avoidance. When you assume everything is working out, challenges are reframed as part of the process. Instead of asking why something is happening, you ask how to move forward. This reframing keeps you focused on solutions rather than problems, allowing you to act strategically rather than emotionally. Acting with intention also improves emotional regulation. When you trust that things are aligning in your favor, emotions lose their ability to control your actions. You can feel stress without panicking, disappointment without collapsing, and uncertainty without freezing. This emotional balance allows you to stay present and focused even under pressure. You become less reactive to external triggers and more grounded in your internal direction. Another important aspect of this shift is responsibility. Reaction often involves blame, blaming circumstances, other people, or timing. Intention involves ownership. When you act as if everything is working out, you accept responsibility for how you respond, regardless of the situation. This sense of ownership is empowering because it reminds you that while you cannot control everything that happens, you can control your actions, mindset, and effort. This mindset also strengthens discipline. Reaction thrives on impulse, while intention thrives on alignment. Acting as if everything is working out encourages you to act in ways that support your values and goals, even when emotions fluctuate. You make choices based on who you want to become rather than how you feel in the moment. Over time, this consistent alignment builds trust in yourself and reinforces confidence. Acting with intention enhances relationships as well. Reactive communication often leads to misunderstandings, conflict, and regret. Intentional responses are calm, thoughtful, and constructive. You listen more, react less, and communicate with clarity. This creates stronger connections and reduces unnecessary tension. People respond positively to presence and emotional stability, which further reinforces the benefits of this mindset. Over time, this shift from reaction to intention reshapes your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who is grounded, resilient, and in control of your inner world. You stop feeling like life is happening to you and start feeling like you are actively participating in shaping your experience. This sense of agency fuels motivation and clarity, making it easier to stay consistent and focused on what truly matters. Ultimately, acting as if everything is working out is not about denying reality or ignoring difficulties. It is about choosing a mental position that empowers you rather than weakens you. By assuming alignment instead of chaos, you free yourself from constant reaction and step into intentional action. This shift allows you to move through life with greater calm, clarity, and confidence, turning challenges into opportunities and uncertainty into purposeful progress. Emotional mastery is often misunderstood as the ability to stay calm at all times or to push emotions away when they feel uncomfortable. In reality, true emotional mastery has nothing to do with suppression. Suppressing feelings only buries them deeper, where they quietly influence behavior, decisions, and reactions. Mastery comes from awareness and choice. It comes from feeling emotions fully while refusing to let them control your actions. When you learn to choose your responses instead of reacting automatically, you take ownership of your inner world. Emotions are natural signals. They arise in response to thoughts, experiences, and interpretations of events. Fear, anger, frustration, excitement, and sadness all serve a purpose. They provide information about what matters to you and what you perceive as important or threatening. Problems begin when emotions are treated as commands rather than signals. When emotion dictates action without pause, reaction takes over. Emotional mastery begins the moment you recognize that just because you feel something does not mean you must act on it. Choosing your response starts with awareness. You cannot choose what you are unaware of. When an emotion arises, the first step is noticing it without judgment. Instead of labeling it as good or bad, you acknowledge its presence. This simple act creates distance between you and the emotion. You are no longer inside the feeling, you are observing it. That space is where freedom exists. In that space, you gain the ability to decide how to respond. Suppression removes that space. When emotions are pushed down or ignored, they do not disappear. They resurface later as stress, irritability, impulsive behavior, or burnout. Suppression trains the mind to avoid discomfort rather than manage it. Choosing responses trains the mind to stay present and grounded, even when emotions are intense. This presence strengthens emotional resilience because you learn that you can experience discomfort without losing control. Emotional mastery also requires patience. Emotions rise and fall like waves. If you react at the peak of an emotional surge, your actions are often driven by impulse rather than intention. Choosing to pause allows the intensity to settle. Once the emotion loses its grip, clarity returns. Decisions made from this calm state are more aligned with values, long-term goals, and self-respect. Over time, this practice rewires your emotional patterns, making thoughtful responses more automatic. This approach transforms how challenges are handled. Instead of reacting defensively to criticism, you can listen, evaluate, and respond constructively. Instead of lashing out in frustration, you can redirect energy toward problem solving. Instead of shutting down in fear, you can act with courage and clarity. Each time you choose your response, you reinforce trust in yourself. That trust builds confidence because you know you can handle difficult emotions without being controlled by them. Emotional mastery also strengthens relationships. Reactive emotions often lead to misunderstandings, conflict, and regret. When you choose responses, communication becomes calmer and more intentional. You listen instead of interrupting. You express instead of exploding. This creates healthier interactions and deeper connections because emotional stability fosters trust and respect. Others feel safe around someone who responds with clarity instead of reacting unpredictably. Choosing responses does not mean denying emotions or pretending they do not exist. It means allowing emotions to be felt while maintaining authority over behavior. You can feel anger without becoming aggressive. You can feel sadness without giving up. You can feel fear without retreating. This balance is what defines emotional strength. It is not the absence of emotion, but the presence of control. Over time, emotional mastery reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone easily overwhelmed or reactive. You begin to identify as calm, resilient, and composed. This identity reinforces the behavior, making emotional regulation feel natural rather than forced. Challenges no longer feel threatening because you trust your ability to respond wisely, regardless of how you feel in the moment. Ultimately, emotional mastery is a practice, not a destination. It is built through repeated choices to pause, observe, and respond with intention. By choosing responses instead of suppressing feelings, you gain freedom from emotional reactivity. You move through life with greater clarity, stability, and confidence, knowing that emotions no longer control you. You guide them. Trust replaces control. When you realize that trying to manage every outcome is exhausting and ineffective, control is often driven by fear. The fear that if you don't micromanage every detail, something will go wrong. This constant need to control creates tension in the mind and body, keeping you in a state of alertness and anxiety. Trust, on the other hand, shifts your inner state. It allows you to relax without becoming passive, to stay focused without being rigid, and to move forward with calm, confidence, and mental clarity. Control narrows perspective. When you are obsessed with controlling outcomes, your mind fixates on what might go wrong. This fixation limits creativity and reduces your ability to adapt. Trust expands perspective. It opens your awareness to possibilities, solutions, and opportunities that fear-driven control often blocks. When you trust yourself in the process, your thinking becomes clearer and more flexible. You are better able to respond to change instead of resisting it. Replacing control with trust also improves emotional stability. Control creates constant inner pressure, as if everything depends on your ability to predict and manage the future. Trust removes this pressure by reinforcing the belief that you can handle whatever unfolds. This belief calms the nervous system, allowing you to think more clearly and act more deliberately. When your emotional state is stable, confidence becomes natural rather than forced. Trust does not mean ignoring responsibility or effort. It means doing what you can with full commitment and then releasing attachment to outcomes beyond your control. This balance reduces stress and prevents burnout. You act decisively, but you do not obsess. You prepare thoroughly, but you do not panic. This state of calm engagement allows you to perform at a higher level because your energy is not drained by worry or overthinking. Mental clarity emerges naturally when control is replaced by trust. The mind is no longer cluttered with endless scenarios, doubts, and second-guessing. Instead, it focuses on the present moment and the next best action. This clarity improves decision-making, communication, and productivity. You stop reacting impulsively and start acting strategically. Each decision feels more aligned because it is not driven by fear. Trust also enhances resilience. When things do not go as planned, control collapses, often leading to frustration or self-blame. Trust remains steady. You adapt, learn, and move forward without losing confidence. Setbacks become part of growth rather than evidence of failure. This resilience strengthens self-belief and reinforces calm confidence over time. Another powerful effect of trust is improved focus. Control scatters attention across many worries and contingencies. Trust concentrates attention on what matters most. You conserve mental energy and channel it into meaningful action. This focused energy accelerates progress and reinforces confidence because you see consistent movement toward your goals. Trust also changes how you interact with uncertainty. Instead of fearing the unknown, you approach it with curiosity and openness. You accept that uncertainty is a natural part of growth. This acceptance reduces anxiety and enhances adaptability. When the mind is open, it processes information more efficiently and responds more creatively to challenges. Over time, trust becomes a core mindset that shapes identity. You begin to see yourself as capable, grounded, and resilient. Calm confidence replaces anxious effort. Mental clarity replaces mental clutter. You move through life with steadiness because your sense of security is internal rather than dependent on external control. Ultimately, trust replaces control by shifting your inner foundation. It transforms fear into confidence, tension into calm, and confusion into clarity. By trusting yourself in the process, you create an internal environment where confidence is stable and the mind is clear. This state allows you to navigate challenges with composure, make better decisions, and move forward with purpose and peace, knowing that you are capable of handling whatever comes next.